Oh, hello again, and hello, Greg. What did you describe my look as moments ago? Steakhouse Mater D?
For those listening on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Jeff is dressed in a purple jacket and a black T-shirt. I said he looked like a steakhouse Mater D. Now, he might not look like your like a high-end Peter Luger. I think those cats still have to wear ties. But I do think that for your mid-range steakhouse, you could expect to see someone dressed a lot like Jeff Marek. He's walking up to you. He's glad-handing. Maybe you're slipping up a 20 to get ahead on the wait list. He's taking you over to the table. He's like, your bread service will be here momentarily, Mr. Whatever gangster name. And then he goes back to his post.
I'll tell you what happened. I was just wearing it's been a kind of a scrambly day between like phone calls and reading and watching stuff. I spent about an hour and a half shoveling this morning. We've been snowed in pretty deeply over the last 24 hours. And I just grabbed a quick shower and then just grabbed the black T-shirt and jeans. And I remember we were at a live event once. You and me. I'm trying to think of who else was there. I think Bob McKenzie, Kristen Shelton, I think was there as well. It's one of those live events we used to do for Puck Talks. And I was just wearing a black T-shirt, black pants, a black toque, and you accused me of looking, because I have like ink on my arms. You accused me of being Vanilla Ice. So I can never get that. I can never get that possible snark out of my head, and I'm like, do I need to hear his Vanilla Ice line?
This is why when we did live shows, I just wore jerseys. I remember we did a huge live show in Toronto where I wore my my Team North America jersey. And folks, this is what they call in the business a transition. The Team North America, of course, competed in the World Cup of Hockey in 2016. Yep. Been thinking about the World Cup a lot, Marek, because Gary Bettman and Bill Daley spoke about it recently at the Board of Governors meeting. They talked about how it's going to be two sites, one in North America, Toronto, and one in...
I don't know about that.
No, it'll probably be Boston. And then one or Montreal. And then one overseas. And I guess Toronto probably doesn't get another shot at that, right? They fumbled the ball. They didn't fill enough seats.
They were overly saturated between World Junior hosting and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then the World Cup on top of it. Like even Toronto hockey fans at a certain point say, like, I'm tapped out in my pocket here. There was a whole confluence of events, hockey events that Toronto was hosting, and then the World Cup on top of it. Although, you know what's really cool? Really, as a quick aside, getting to watch that Team North America Sweden game. I watched it with Tyler Dello, who's now the assistant GM of the Carolina Hurricanes. We paid like $10. I mean, I was just in as media, but he was like, this is awesome. Like, I got my whole hour. I paid $10. I'm watching like the best game that I've watched in 10 years. And I paid like $10 for these tickets in the middle of the afternoon.
There are empty seats for some of the games that did involve Canada or the U.S. and the tickets ended up being pretty cheap. But it'll probably be like, Montreal and Boston obviously, showed up for Four Nations, so they probably earned a chance to do this thing too. But I was thinking about the World Cup in context of the Olympics. There's so much hassle going on with the Olympics right now. I don't know if you guys have heard, but they're not making ice yet, and there's a chance that if the ice isn't good, then we might not necessarily have an Olympic tournament. I don't know if you guys have heard any of this. It's been in the news a little bit. And then on top of that, obviously the facility's not done. All this mishigas and consternation about the Olympics. Yeah. The NHL obviously would prefer if the World Cup was the premier international hockey event. They control it. They make all the money from it. Monetize. They don't get kick from the IOC for letting the players in the Olympics. This is a very famous topic. Again, I don't side on the NHL on a lot of things, but I do sympathize with their plight with the IOC. Now, here's the problem with making the World Cup the premier international hockey event. It's not the Olympics. There's the problem. The players like
that's it. It's that cachet. That's it.
They want to be part of the opening ceremonies. They want to hang out in the Olympic Village. They want the prestige of being an Olympic gold medalist on the level of a Michael Phelps, on the level of a Simone Biles.
Hang on, that's it right there. They just want to say they played in the Olympics. The old saying, use hockey, don't let hockey use you. And all these guys have a number of different boxes they can check. Some get a couple of boxes, some get double-digit boxes, and some of the rare guys get like, I've won a Stanley Cup, and I've won an Olympic medal, and I've won an Olympic gold, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like one of the major. It's one of the major boxes that hockey players can check now. That's all it is.
Completely. And you're then within the fabric of a previous hockey greatness. I mean, Sid won gold, and
did
if
you remember that one.
Won gold for the first time since the Miracle or whatever. It's like the Norris Trophy is the microcosm of this. Like, we can make a new award for defensive defenseman, but you want to win the award that Lidstrom won. You want to win the award that Bobby Orr won. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to be the same. So I bring this up not only because of all the consternation about the Olympics, but I bring this up because if you are the NHL and the NHLPA, how do you go about making the World Cup of Hockey more important or as important as the Olympics? And I was talking on Vancouver radio yesterday. It was Calgary radio, one of the two. I think it's Calgary. And this topic came up. And here's an idea that I think is kind of fascinating. And I've talked about this before, but I got new context for it in my conversation yesterday. When soccer is in the Summer Olympics, they cap the age of the players that play in those games. Yep. Now, that is mostly so the leagues around the world can continue to do their thing whilst the Olympics are happening in the summer. And maybe there's some of that idea in what I'm about to say. What if all of the hockey federations got together and said the Olympics are a U24, U23 tournament? Like, what if they did that? Mm-hmm. Well, a couple things would happen. First of all, the Olympics would make new stars, which is something we've hoped the Olympics would do for the NHL players for many, many years, but hasn't necessarily done so outside of TJ Oshie and Ryan Miller. If you're a young player that doesn't have a lot of cachet and you end up scoring the Sidney Crosby golden goal for your country in the Olympics, guess what? You're ending up on a postage stamp. You are now a megastar. Yep. What it would also do, though, Marek, is it would make the World Cup of Hockey, the place where the NHL and the NHLPA keep all the money, it would make the World Cup of Hockey the only place where you could see the youngins and the established superstars both play together to represent their countries, making that tournament extremely different and extremely more special as a hockey fan than the Olympic tournament.
So hang on a second. What did I miss here? Once you want to make it U24?
If you make the Olympic tournament, I say a U23.
Oh, you make the Olympic tournament the
U24,
and then the World Cup of Hockey
becomes everybody.
Is everybody?
Yeah. So you do what other sports do in the Olympics, which is you cap the age. Yeah. So it's not like a bunch of 35-year-olds playing. You put the focus on the young players in the Olympics. If you're a young hockey player, you're going to get your shot in the Olympic cycle at least once, maybe twice, depending on your age.
Maybe.
You could make it U25 and maybe give them 2 shots. I don't care. Point being is that if you want the World Cup of Hockey to somehow supersede the Olympics, if you want the World Cup of Hockey to be more prestigious than the Olympics, the only way you're going to do that is to be different than the Olympics. Okay. And the only way that you could do that is if you can somehow make it where the only place you could see Sidney Crosby and Macklin Celebrini wearing the Canadian jersey representing their country. Okay. Baby, that's the World Cup. That ain't the Olympics.
If you could pull it off, awesome. I think that would be great. Now, then my subsequent question would be, does the NHL schedule then continue while the Olympics are on? Mm-hmm. Because you're just losing the U24s, or does that pause as well? And the other one, hang on to that one. And the other question that I would have is, and this is where I just turn into the guy that's seen too many CBA negotiations and understands the dynamic within the Players Association. What's the one area of players that, when it comes to negotiations over the CBA or other things, consistently gets thrown under the bus?
I don't know what.
The young players.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Always. Mm-hmm. Always. Oh, yeah. We'll tell you what. We'll give you a rookie salary cap, too, if you give us something else. Young players are always getting tossed under the bus. The veteran guys, the star players, pretty much control the union. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I can see any of these star players in the NHL, the veteran guys, your McDavids, your Crosbys, your Jack Eichels, etc., saying oh yeah, that's cool. We'll age out. We'll be like be like Menudo. We'll age out at 16, and then we can't play in the boy band anymore. I just can't see the Players Association signing off on that one. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I just can't see the big boys signing off on that and saying, yeah, we're cool.
You'd have to financially incentivize it in the World Cup. Like you'd have to somehow give them a bigger chunk of change in order to incentivize them signing off on not going to the Olympics when they're like in their 30s.
Hang on. From a fan's point of view, it's interesting because, and I like it. I mean, I would even make it younger. Part of the attraction now with the World Juniors, which is essentially the U20, and it's a development tournament, not unlike the U18, U17, all these different tournaments, just to sort of measure up where they are in their peer group. That's what these tournaments are. But it's become more than that, as we all know. One of the great things about it is, and this is what you don't get anymore, which is considering our age, Greg, we were lucky because we're probably, one of the last generations to have this experience of seeing players from overseas for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I've always told the story about 1976. That was the first big tournament for me. I would have been 7 years old. And seeing like the Stastnys and seeing like Vladimir Zarilla, like, oh my God, like you only hear about them or read about them in the hockey news back then. Like, and you just didn't know. But now, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. The NHL is a Benetton ad now. Like it's all the nations all together, all the play. I know it's a dated reference. I'm so old, but it's everybody all together. So essentially what these international tournaments then become is a bunch of guys you're familiar with, a bunch of NHLers, all just wearing different jerseys. That's it. They just reorganize the same guys.
Yeah, I realize that there would be challenges to my idea. But to answer your question, though, I mean, what's the thing that the owners hate the most about the Olympics?
Don't make any money and the players could get hurt.
Shutting down this. Well, the players getting hurt part, but shutting down the season. Yeah. Having to take a pause in the season and not have games in their buildings because of this thing where they're loading their talent. So in theory, you keep playing.
Yeah.
Without those young players.
Okay, so go tell the Chicago Blackhawks they're playing for a couple of weeks without Connor Bedard, and go tell the San Jose Sharks they're playing a few weeks without Macklin Celebrini. See how that goes over.
You could maybe you loosen up the schedule. You keep playing. Honestly, the one part of this, and it does factor into the NHLPA argument that I worry about, isn't necessarily the Sidney Crosbys and the the Patrick Kanes of the world. Right. My concern is the veteran players from other countries, because if you ever talk to a Swede, if you ever talk to a Finn, and you bring up the Olympics, you will find some of them value winning an Olympic gold medal or an Olympic medal more than they value winning the Stanley Cup. Correct. And that's kind of the trick here, is you'd have to figure out a way to convince them to go along with this too. And that's going to be probably even harder than any of the North American guys.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, let's hang on, bracket that for a second. Listen, I think it's an interesting idea. I think anything like this where you can think creative to make both tournaments different and distinct is very much worth a conversation. Let's get on with what's going on the show today. I really like, maybe we flip that to Carter Hutton, who's coming up on the program a little bit later on, which brings us to the blueprint for today's show. The blueprints and this program powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. Coming up on today's show, let's see if he's done it. Oh, I love you, Zach. Greg Wyshynski's on the show. He's coming up next. Wow, that's going to be awesome. Locker room noise. I wonder what that could mean. Vancouver. The other guy. Did you see the other guy comment? We're going to get into that here in a couple of moments. Carter Hutton's going to stop by from DFO Live and a mainstay here at Daily Faceoff, former NHL netminder. And Greg has an interesting piece on trade tiers and targets. I do want to add one more thing to your piece when we get to it a little bit later on. In the meantime, I know that Quinn Hughes is dominating headlines, and I'm sure people are saying like, oh, Jesus, every show have to have a whack at this piñata. And my answer is, as long as the piñata is still spilling out candies, then yeah, everybody should grab a stick and take a swing. Did you see Adam Foote's comments yesterday, which should come as no surprise? I don't know if we had this one queued up, Zach. This is Vancouver Canucks head coach Adam Foote yesterday on the Quinn Hughes saga.
I think when I've been around things like that, you're not talking about it. You're not, you're trying not to think about it, but it's there. And you can feel it certain days more than others. I can feel it certain days more than others, and these guys are human. They can feel it. It can affect, for sure, a locker room. I have to give the guys credit. Like, they're in a tough spot hearing the noise, and they keep coming to work every day and keep doing their job. And they're pros. That's what they're supposed to do. But to answer your question, they can hear it, and it probably affects some players more than others. But like I said, I give them a lot of credit for the way they handle it, coming to work, try to win hockey games, and do their job.
And maybe the best follow-up to that is, do you and your team resent your president of hockey operations for bringing it up in the first place, which started all of this? It didn't have to be like this, but bless him, Jim Rutherford was the one that opened this can of worms, and we can't
twice.
The can.
He opened it up by saying that he wanted to play with his brothers, and then he opened it up by sending a memo to 31 other teams saying that we're open for business, which was misinterpreted as being, well, that means that Quinn Hughes could be on the block, when in fact he just meant the UFAs pretty much. But yeah, I mean, like, that's a as we all try to figure out exactly what temperature this boil is at right now, like, that's a pretty good indication that it's pretty high. Like you have the head coach candidly talking about how the future of his star defenseman is impacting the locker room. You don't have to go too far to the New York Rangers last year, where all of the chatter about guys like Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider and the JT Miller situation, like, all of that impacted the room. There's no question about that. Yeah. And so when all of this stuff starts permeating through the locker room walls, you have to start wondering how long you can sustain the pressure. It's like the trash compactor from the first Star Wars movie. It's closing in.
Great reference.
Closing in, and Adam Foote screaming at 3PO to try to shut down all the trash compactors on level whatever. The walls are closing in Vancouver, Marek.
Yeah, this one doesn't go away, and every day a couple of new teams pop up in the rumor mill for kicking tires. I think one of my kids' youth hockey team, his U16 team, actually called Vancouver to see if he was available too. I'm just assuming that everybody's calling to see.
They do have young centers. I mean, that's the one thing they're looking for.
Well,
right? The U16 team does have young centers.
They got 3 centers that can all produce. So Rutherford's listening. Rutherford and Alvin are listening. They're all U16, but nonetheless. Okay, I was just curious. See, that also, I know that the headline is, oh yeah, it's gotten into the locker room. Spoiler, it's been there for a while. Mm-hmm. I've always said this since I started. I started in 1995 in this industry. And about hockey, I've learned exactly one thing. One. That's it. Just one thing. And that is, Zach's heard me say this before, you can't lie to players. Players know. Players know the stories. Player knows who belongs on the ice, who don't belong on the ice, who should be there, who shouldn't, all the hot goss, all of it. This is not new. Like, all of a sudden, 2 days ago, the Vancouver Canucks sort of woke up after Elliott's report on Hockey Night that, oh, wow, there's a conversation between the Devils and the Vancouver Canucks over
had a conversation.
This is not new.
Yeah,
this is not new, of course.
That's why I chuckled at the Athletic player poll the other day about, they asked how many players have social media accounts, and I think like 82% of them said they don't, and then a bunch of them also said, and we don't have a burner. They're completely right in most cases. Like, these guys don't need a Twitter account, and they don't need a Twitter burner. What they need is a bunch of friends who screenshot all the things said about them and then text them to the players, which is exactly how this thing always works. They always know who is saying what, and they're always informed about what is being said about them in the ether. Yeah, without question.
So there's always been, I think you and I talked about this like a million years ago, and like the great Twitter hunt was on to try to find Sidney Crosby's burner. Do you remember that story? From a million years ago, and that like white whale sort of goose chase that everybody was on, trying to figure out like which one is Crosby. Hopefully, when his career is over, Sidney can finally just answer that and go like, oh yeah, like this account was my. I'm always going on about how general managers, when they're done with their career and the names have moved on or whatever, should sort of tell the stories. I think when players' careers are over, they should come clean about, okay, yeah, this was my account. As if it goes back to see, every reporter goes back to see if that account followed them. or who they followed and what they said.
Which famous account could Sidney Crosby be? That's the question. I don't know. What if he's Drager?
Wow. See, that would be like the ultimate swerve that he's actually posing as another insider, or one of the rumors out there on social media.
Oh yeah, what if he's like one of the sons of Eklund that rose up to fill the rumor void?
Yeah,
really funny. We've learned some burner accounts. I remember like Tony D'Angelo got caught with a burner where he was like using it to defend Tony D'Angelo. There's been a couple of those instances. I mean, obviously, like the most famous anonymous player account for a while was Luongo's, where there was all this question as to like, remember the whole thing about like, was Duffy running it because it was like,
that's right,
a little too funny.
It was kind of insulting to Luongo because like, too clever.
Right, and then Luongo was like, "No, I'm funny.
What are you talking about?" And, I always treated that like it was like that was everyone's way on social media to try to smoke Luongo out. Just assume that it was James Duthie, and everyone's like, it's like a side swipe at him. Like, oh, this is too clever to be Luongo. Oh, this is too smart. This is too witty. This is too funny. Just as a way to come out and say, first of all, that's not my burner, and stop insulting me like that.
Yeah,
but it never happened.
I do appreciate. I mean, I think Morgan Geekie is one player who recently like clapped back at somebody.
St. Louis Blues.
St. Louis Blues team account, right? So I do appreciate that we're in an era of player empowerment where they feel comfortable being candid with their Twitter feed or with their Instagram feed to hit back at criticism.
At other teams too.
Yeah.
That's the part that I really like. Mm-hmm. It's not just going at another player; you're going at a team account. Because we haven't really seen that level before, have we?
No.
Have we seen a player clap back at a team account, or was that?
It's probably happened at some point. But I just love the idea of like we should have a generation of Kevin Durants who feel compelled to go to social media and defend themselves or take shots at others when needs be. Makes my life easier. That's for sure.
All right, I want to get to your trade tiers here. Let me pull this up here.
Please tell me what you'd like to add to the 4,500 word story that I had to file for today. What is the extra 50 words that I did not put into the story, Marek? Please tell me.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, please.
Edmonton's first round pick in 2027.
That's fair. I mean, there's a lot of first round picks.
I think, that makes sense. I'm going on with Tyler and Liam after this show. One of the things I want to, I'll try to hijack their show blatantly. There's your hook for tuning in after the show. I'm just gonna try to hijack their show because one of the things that I'm curious about here is if you're the Edmonton Oilers, it's obvious that one of the things you're going to try to use to lure either A, goaltender, or B, forward. To help this team this year, would you? I'll throw this one out at you. I'll ask Tyler and Liam this one later on. Would you rather use that first round pick to get Tristan Jarry with retention, or Alex Tuch as a strict rental?
Wow, that's a really good question. Is there any redundancy in Tuch?
Well, here's what I wonder about Edmonton. I know what you're saying because there's no point in having like two Alex Tuchs on the team. I get it.
Yeah.
But as I look at the Oilers, the one thing that really stands out to me, because I know everyone's focused on goaltending this and goaltending that, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. But one of the things that I wonder about is, will they be able to construct a third line, like a good third line, like a, hey, we've just won the Stanley Cup third line, without taking Ryan Nugent-Hopkins away from McDavid and Hyman?
Which you can't necessarily do. I think you end up hurting yourself more than that.
So what do you do then? That's where I wonder, like, because how many times have we talked about, oh, you know what, it was their third line that won the Stanley Cup. Oh, it was that third line that won the Stanley Cup. Top sixes tend to wash. And then your third line comes in, like, who's got the strongest third line? That's why I'd throw that first round pick as far as being one of the more intriguing pieces in any trade tiers that we're putting together.
For sure. I mean, they're obviously going to have to sacrifice something to get things to improve their team. The thing I'm curious about with regards to Tristan Jarry is twofold. One, who is having the conversation with Sidney Crosby where the Pittsburgh Penguins are within sniffing distance of a playoff spot, but they're going to trade their best goalie this season for reasons? Like, who's having that conversation with Sid? Where, like, the thing that you've been begging for, playoff relevance, maybe within your grasp, but we're going to trade your goalie for a first. Like, who's having that conversation?
I would imagine.
The second thing is,
okay,
go ahead.
No. Be thorough. I'll cherry pick here in a sec.
The second thing is that I know why Tristan Jarry's name is being bandied about, which is that he could be available, and he could be available with retention. Why aren't we talking about the fact that the thing that the Edmonton Oilers need is for goaltending to improve in the playoffs? And Tristan Jarry has played 8 games, and 7 of those games in the playoffs have been fucking atrocious. Yeah. Like I'm sorry, like Tristan Jarry historically has been a terrible postseason goalie. In a very small sample size, but nonetheless,
I was gonna say it's tiny. Again, this isn't running on track record at all, and I think that's probably why Stan Bowman's looking at this and saying all of a sudden the reports are not going to make a lateral move.
Saying this guy could be Marc-Andre Fleury, where people wanted to run Fleury out of town for being mediocre in the playoffs, just like they wanted to run Jarry out of town for being a terrible. And I think that was against the Islanders, that series where he was absolutely terrible. But hey, let me transition for a second here.
Okay.
Is there a reality in the multiverse where Marc-Andre Fleury comes out of the retirement to play for the Oilers?
I can't see it.
No, okay.
I can't see. I wonder if once upon a time there was interest from the Oilers in Marc-Andre Fleury. Again, I've never been told that, but I think it's something that we've all wondered at various times. But
now, I'm not even saying that this guy might be an improvement over Calvin Pickard. I'm just saying that if you go into the playoffs with Stuart Skinner and Marc-Andre Fleury playing for league minimum, pulling off the old Phillip Rivers coming back from retirement at a time of need, is that better than all other available options, Marek?
Well, the thing about all available options are we don't know who all the available options are at this point. Like, do you not get because here's what I think about Edmonton, and this is where it might be frustrating, certainly for the Oilers and certainly for their fans as well. We don't have enough teams dropping out of it yet.
No.
Like, do you not get the feeling that Edmonton's just waiting for insert team X to completely fall out of it? Like, I think, like, okay, I'll be blunt. Is it going to be one of the Sabres goalies? Is it going to be Alex Lyon? Is it going to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen?
The answer is probably yes. And by the way, I will note that as a guy who just put together a trade board, there isn't anybody that's really out of the race right now, and that makes things very difficult.
Trust me, this is tough exercise.
And like, if the Kraken fall out, watch out for Jamie Alexiak. Kind of shit happening.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, if your team falls out of the playoff race, to then make your goalies available, are your goalies really any that good? I mean, like, it's usually not because of stellar goaltending that a team falls out of the playoff race months before the deadline, is it?
Yeah. No, and the other thing, too, about waiting till deadline, again, it's a scant few players that we have to base this exercise on, but it's not as if goaltenders that move at deadline have that significant effect on their team. It might be the one position where really it's tough for that guy to come in as the white knight and save the day.
Completely true. I'll give you the best case scenario for Edmonton.
Okay.
Sebastian Casa plays out of his mind.
Yes.
And becomes the new Jesper Wallstedt for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah. And
forces their hand to move Cam Talbot because you're not moving John Gibson. And the Oilers pounce and reacquire Cam Talbot. Hey, like that.
You like
Could
that?
have used him last night when I had a goalie fight last night.
For our friends at home, Jeff was just nodding in appreciation of my genius. That's how we did it.
I'm just thinking about how do we get Cam Talbot and Mike Smith in a game again, so we can see a throwdown at center ice. Well, you know what? Speaking of goaltenders, let's bring aboard Carter Hutton, former NHL netminder, now one half of the power duo that is Daily Faceoff Live, heard and seen noon Eastern right here on our Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. So we're trying to figure out the goalie market. And Greg threw out Marc-Andre Fleury's name as a surprise swerve for anybody.
To the Oilers, baby. Flour to the oil to save the day. What do you say, Carter Hutton?
I have it on good authority that Carter Hutton is now doing 2-a-days. And he's thinking about it, and it's in the back of his mind, and he's been talking to, I don't know, Stan Bowman or Bill Scott or Jeff Jackson, any of the Oilers brass. How do you read the market right now for the Edmonton Oilers in nets? Like, is anything clear, or are teams still too packed together?
I think too packed together. I think it's concerning because like the names that get thrown around for me when I think about the Edmonton Oilers, it's like a lateral play, right? Like is Binnington the answer? Now you got to try to move money around. Is he really going to help shore up? I don't necessarily think Stuart Skinner is their problem. Sometimes you got to look at, yes, the Jekyll and Hyde of his game is horrible at times, but I think there's other glaring problems in Edmonton that you see. So I think that is a concern when I look at the Edmonton Oilers, when I look at a lot of these teams. And the fact of the matter, outside of the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche, who else is really a favorite? No one's really identified like, hey, we are difference makers. We are going to be there. So you are a Tampa Bay little run away from, going 7-1-2 or getting a little hot stretch to really just boost your chances in any division. So for me, it's just a matter of getting somebody serviceable to come into Edmonton. And again, I think Calvin Pickard has got to the point where you almost can't play him anymore. So I don't know if it's the fact of replacing Skinner or just trying to find somebody who can come in and be a little bit of a stopgap just to give Skinner some relief in this compressed schedule where it feels like every night he plays, you don't know what you're getting. I think that is the most concerning thing for Edmonton Oilers and for their fans.
Do you not think, I'll turn this over to Greg in a second. Do you not think though that considering that Connor McDavid, didn't do that deal, the great Alberta gift, to win one Stanley Cup, but he did it to win 3, that even though they might not be Colorado and they might not be Dallas, there is an obligation in exchange for, like, the quid pro quo here is, I'm going to do you this solid, but we can't punt on a season. Like, we need to act as if we are Colorado and act as if we are the Dallas Stars. That's the way it feels to me. Does it feel that way to you?
Yeah. It does. And it feels like he gave them their leash, right? Like this was the deal. It's like, hey, this is a show me deal. What can we do? So that's why some of the names being thrown around, I feel like it needs to be a bigger splash if it is a splash in net, right? And again, maybe like Vejmelka in Utah is a thing. I get like Ryan Smith is a guy. How long does he sit there and wait with the inherited staff that he got, right? Like these weren't guys that he hired, right? Bill Armstrong came over, Andre Tournier. These were, and then you think back about Terry Pagula and what he went through when he took over ownership and all the, where the Buffalo Sabres are at now. So I still think there was a lot of names, but if there is a play, it has to be some prospects, some picks, something going out of Edmonton for them to get anyone for me that is really going to move the needle. That is really going to be like, hey, Connor McDavid, here you go. We went, you asked, you wanted this. We went and got it. Again, this is a team it's hard for me to judge the regular season. It's hard for me to judge certain teams in the regular season because they get a little bit of a pass, right? Like the Florida Panthers are struggling. Everyone feels like they're going to turn it around, but they get a pass. They get a little bit of a leash because they've done it before. Where some of these teams, they don't because the results haven't been in there when it matters most.
Can I throw one more thing in?
Of course. That's what I'm here for.
Sergei Bobrovsky's on an expiring contract.
There you go. Imagine that. That would rock the world. Hey, that would rock. Well, like, I remember when Bob signed that deal, everybody's like, you can't pay a goalie $10 million. You can't do this. This is how the league works. This is it. And then all of a sudden now it's like every other team reflects on it. They're like, we got to pay a goalie $10 million. Our goalie sucks. We need to find someone we can pay a boatload of money. So it's funny how it, like the ebbs and flows changes so much. But what I will say is when you look at the depth of the Florida Panthers during those cup runs, that was a big difference maker. And again, Binnington's name's thrown around so much right now with Canada, with, trades. how insulated he played very well. I don't want to take it away. I was on that same St. Louis Blues team the year before, and I led the whole NHL in save percentage and goals against. Was that Carter Hutton, or was that a fact that we had Jay Bouwmeester, Alex Pietrangelo, Joel Edmondson, Robert Bertuzzo, you name them, we had it. And we were so structured where Binnington was good. And again, at the Four Nations, a very good insulated team. He was good. At times, you're about as good as what can get put in front of you outside of maybe 3 or 4 of the best in the world.
Great points.
So that does bring up an interesting point, though, Carter, which is Bob good? Or is Bob good because the team in front of him really hunkers down and plays exceptionally well in the playoffs?
I think Bob is still good. I don't think Bob is a 55-game goalie good anymore. I think there is a wear and tear and a factor that comes into it. But again, Bob is a good single-game goalie. And it'd be exciting to see what would happen if we had Russia at the Olympics, right? Because of the plethora of goalies that they have. And there's so many good guys. But I think for Bob, managing where he is at and where he's going to be at in playoff form. Yes, he's a workhorse. He wants to play, but I think his game has dropped off a bit. And again, like, he is capable of stealing games, but I just don't know if he's on that same level of like consistency we see with some of the younger guys. When I look at guys in the league that are really in that upper echelon, I think Igor Shesterkin is that guy. You can probably put him on anywhere from team 1 to team 32. And you're still going to be in a game every single night. So I think Bob's better days are behind him, and trying to strategically set him up for success come playoff time and the war of attrition in playoffs is kind of where I think the Florida Panthers are at.
Okay, elsewhere around the NHL. And no, we're not going to ask you about Quinn Hughes, because this one has been like done to death at this point, and I'm as guilty as the next person, and that next person is Greg Wyshynski. So let me ask you about the other bit of low-hanging fruit from this week. And listen, that was a big comeback win, even though they almost threw it away against the Oilers, by the Buffalo Sabres. I was saying earlier that the one thing that I've learned in my time in hockey media is this, and it's only one thing. You cannot lie to players. Players know who belongs and who doesn't belong. Now, the Buffalo Sabres yesterday, signing to a two-way deal. He's just on an American League deal leading up. Trevor Kuntar, and he's called up over Noah Ostlund, Konsta Helenius, and there are a lot of people that are going, hang on a second ago, Lindy Ruff the other day was just saying we're carrying 3 goaltenders, so I can't ice my best lineup, and Noah Ostlund did nothing wrong here other than he's the victim of a numbers game, so I can't ice my best lineup. I don't know why he got again, I'm not there. Maybe there's an obvious reason that I'm missing, but how that player turns a AHL deal into a 2A deal and gets called up over Noah Ostlund and Konsta Helenius, to me is baffling. But players notice this, right? Like, what's the effect? Like, I'm curious, like, take us inside the room. Like, what's the effect, like, up and down the bench? Because listen, if I'm asking these questions, you could be sure that like Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, Alex Tuch, everybody on that team is going, huh? What's that?
And I think it's when you start to lose your room too, as like a general manager, right? And again, times that I think about is like trade deadlines, times where it's like you think your team is in it, and then all of a sudden there's a trade that goes on, and you're kind of like reflecting as a group, like, man, they don't believe in us. They don't think, where we're at. So I think that is a big factor in this play, where they're trying to pull up, they're trying to see what works. But I think the message that's getting sent to those core guys is we're trying to expose players, and maybe there's guys on the move. So I do think it is disheartening for the Buffalo Sabres what you see with moves like that, right? In a culture where this team is very unpredictable, right? At times it's not about talent, it's about effort, and it's about, I guess maybe trying to generate the exact same product every single night. And they've had troubles doing that over the last 14 years. And I was one of them, right? I was in that culture where we had a ton of good players and the message wasn't there. The discrepancy between team and management and coaches. And at times it kind of falls to the wayside. So I think it is concerning. But to Jeff, to answer your question, is players know. Trust me, players know. They know what's going on. They know who's good enough to be there.
Yep.
And they also know that, like, if you've been around long enough, you're aware to the situation. And that's something that gets involved in this, is like, there's a sense of self-preservation that comes into play too. Like, don't get me wrong. We are proud athletes and we want to be good and we want to wear, whatever team we're on, we're doing that. But at the end of the day, like the writing's on the wall. If there's a guy on a contract year, you have to be a little bit selfish, right? Because one thing I will tell you, when your time is up, they just scrape your name off and get somebody else, right? So you got to try to make your money and take care of yourself, numero uno.
Oh, let's all say it together. Hockey will never love you back. Take as much out of it as you can.
This is why hockey players and the media should get along better. We're all in the same boat. They just scrape them off. Find the younger model. Hey Carter, let me ask you this: is there, when you talk to your friends in the goalie fraternity, is there a guy in the league that is sort of the consensus most underrated goalie, like someone whose numbers maybe aren't always great, and then you know the fancy stats maybe don't tell the story, but is there one guy that maybe doesn't get the shine that you guys think is the most underrated goalie in the league?
Can I guess?
Wow,
can I guess?
Can I
guess? Jake Allen.
There you go. That's honestly a great pick. Jake is a guy that, you know what? I think Jake is a great story of a guy that St. Louis expectations on him coming in, which we see all the time. He just needed a change of scenery, in my personal opinion, because he was like anointed the guy, where I never had to deal with that. I got off the hook. Well, I didn't say I got off the hook. I probably left a lot of money on the table, where if you are the guy, you get more opportunity, right? I used to always joke in Nashville, once I was a little secure in my position there, when we would have the brass in and scouts would be in there and everybody, I'd always go to the boys like, none of these guys like me, right? Because I was like this random free agent signing that they plucked in, and next thing you know, I became an NHL goalie. They're like, no one found me outside of Mitch Korn and their goalie staff. So sometimes being the guy, like we're going to see it tonight, Jacob Fowler gets his first start. He's kind of already anointed the one. And this is a big time market, and he's getting a first start against the Pens, what Waugh did, what Price did, all these Dryden, all these guys before him. And I think it's concerning in the sense of, you don't want to put too much expectations on a guy, where Jake Allen, realistically, he could have been in St. Louis forever. Like he was that good, but he was labeled with expectations. And I think another guy who doesn't get enough love in the league, a guy I played against from college all the way up, is Cam Talbot. I think Cam Talbot has been one of the arguably the best goalies, consistent wise, every situation he's been in. And it's not like he was always in these protected situations, right? He started with Lundqvist and, kind of cut his teeth there. And then he bounced around to different teams. And no matter where he goes, he's an NHL All-Star at one point in LA. Like, it's very impressive what he's done in his career. And guys like that, I always kind of revel in, because I know the grind. Right? Like 39 years old and he's still going. I was thinking back to when I was like, I played till I was 35. God, there was days I hated it. Right. And it was like, and I always loved the game. Trust me. You ask anyone about me, like I had a good rapport with most teams, but there was a time where it was like, hey, I remember last year in Arizona, I would like tell my wife, like, I am here for the paycheck. Like it got to that point where you could ask me before that, I was doing everything in my power to be good. And I loved it. And I was immersed in it. But you hit a wall at some point, and guys like that I find most impressive.
That's a great answer. Greg had mentioned Cam Talbot previously, so I can see the inside smile on his face.
Well, what we need, Carter, what we need is we need Sebastian Cossa to be like the Jesper Wallstedt of Detroit. Force them to bring him up. Talbot's on the market. Oilers trade for Talbot. That's the perfect scenario for Edmonton.
I thought last year was the year that was going to happen. When they traded for Peter Mrazek, like it felt like Cam Talbot was like, now that I'm on your side, right? Working media, I was like, this is the play here. Talbot goes to Edmonton. He becomes that like staple. He's a good, not that I think he's the guy that carries you to a Stanley Cup, but he can get hot. He can be a difference maker. And again, when I think of Team Canada, like, maybe you want a veteran prep. Even like Team USA, someone made this, Darren Pang, we had him on our show, and he made this argument to me. We were chatting a little bit about it. Like number 3 for Team USA, what about like John Quick? Or someone that like between the ears, if it does, there's an injury or something happens and you get thrown in that moment, you're not going to be overwhelmed by it, right? Like there's so many good goalies, but this is a one-game showdown. A one-game showdown, it comes down to in those kind of scenarios. Sometimes the mature guy has a little bit more between the ears.
It's hard not to think about him against the Russians in Sochi, man, and like think, they could use that in a pinch if they needed it for sure.
I as a Canadian hockey fan, I love the idea of USA taking netminders that are on the back nine of their career and maybe thinking about retirement. I think not only should you have them on the team, but they should start too. Maybe John Van Beesbrook grabs the pass. I don't know. Like, I'm just speaking as a Canadian here. I'm just looking at Ottinger and Hellebuck, and I'm like, you know what? I think Jonathan Quick might be the, if he can channel 2012 Quickie, then all of a sudden, USA can go on this.
They only need it for 60 minutes, though. Only need it for. I'm just a locker room present, right, and a guy that could help guys around the room. So there's always that talk. I get like if you get to your number 3 in the Olympics, you're probably in trouble anyway.
Yeah,
this is Marek's version of my Celebrini, Bedard. What about Nick Cousins? Wouldn't that be something that Canada would want to take?
Most punchable face I just saw voted.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You got to win votes.
No, I know. Okay, so let me last one for me. I'm going to go back to the swords on this one. Although we've seen this at various times. We saw it the Red Wings before. Publicly, goalies always say, you know what? We don't mind having 3 goaltenders. We're fine with it. It's okay. Everyone says the politically correct thing. Maybe if their general manager asks them, they'll say the same thing as well. Have you ever met a goaltender, Carter, who really likes the 3 goalie rotation?
No, not. You know what? I liked the 3 goalies was during COVID. We had Jonas Johansson with us, but he was nowhere going to play. He was just there for practice relief, where you're like, hey, I just started last night. We have practice. This drill's not for me. This is for the players. So maybe JJ, you come over here and jump in, okay? Like, because you're cutting your teeth. And I was that guy before too. Yeah. But from a playing standpoint, it makes no sense. You guys need minutes. Guys want to play. Guys want to compete. And again, it starts to. I talk about this a lot. Goaltending is this really unique position inside the sport where you're very insulated. You're almost on an island. And what happens is, well, your family, your friends, your agent, you're the best. You're going to do the best. If someone gets hurt, you're going to play more. Or like, it's not fair. The D's not good. And then like all of a sudden you start to let things creep in where it's like, well, now it's 3 goalies. Like, well, I should be playing. Last game I played good. Why am I not playing? And it just starts to like become this pity party for yourself. And I think sometimes in a situation like Buffalo where you have 2 young, like Alex Lyon, he doesn't care. I would truthfully believe like a guy like that is just happy to have a seat at the table. He's established enough. He's going to go there. But then you have UPL. And you have Colton Ellis, these kids that are like trying to play more and trying to be in the scene. And then all of a sudden you start to be like doubting yourself. Like, am I good enough? Why is this situation happening? And I think it just creates something that doesn't need to be there. I would rather, truthfully, probably for these younger guys, just go play minutes in the American League or go somewhere where you're going to be the guy and cut your teeth and takes your bumps and bruises, where when you take your bumps and bruises in the NHL, it affects you mentally. And I think Jakub Dobeš is a great example of that. Started so well this year. Right? What's he thinking right now? Cam Fowler just came up. Like, he was unbelievable to start the year. We saw him in an interview after a Jersey game. He was almost in tears, losing an overtime game. Like, there's times where I've come out of a game and been like so upset for 5-10 minutes. And then I'm like on to the next thing, right? You learn through time and experience how you compartmentalize that side of the game. And I think adding 3 goalies with younger guys is just, it's going to be a curse. And I think it's going to create problems that don't need to be there.
I mean, look no further than Minnesota, right? They let Wallstead basically percolate in the AHL for 3 seasons. And then you look at a kid like Devin Levi in Buffalo, where he's thrown to the Lions like the minute he gets into the league. And you can see immediately the difference in confidence and in the difference in being able to handle the adversity of it all. I wanted to bug you about one thing before you go, which is we've mentioned a few times like the numbers for goalies. Do we have any idea who's good? Like I know we have more information now from places like Stathletes and other places that give us goals above expected and all of these metrics that I think are still pretty good. But everything I hear, and maybe you can attest to this or not, is that the internal numbers that teams have and that goalie coaches like Mitch had, are so much more precise and informative than the stuff that's available publicly. Like, is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think so. It's tough, right? It is a situation where you are kind of a product of your surroundings too at times. And then there is just, the numbers do get skewed too, right? You look at some goalies, you have a tough stretch and those numbers are hard to come back for, and finding a ways to, make timely saves. And the way it's so tricky to judge a game by a box score, right? Like I can attest to that, where there was times where you'd be 30, 40 shots, and it was like the easiest game you played, right? And I know we try to dive in more with the advanced analytics. I also think there is a locker room presence, and there is a calming demeanor of saves at timely manners in hockey games, right? Because there's an old saying that I heard a lot when I was coming up. It's not how many you make, it's when you make them. And I think that is a factor that doesn't really show on a stat sheet. But overall, the guys that can consistently get it done as teams start to change or they move throughout different systems are the guys that I think it's like an upper 10, Greg, honestly, that are like better than everybody. And then there's like this middle where it's right place, right time, right system. And again, like you touched on with Devin Levi versus Jesper Wallstedt, there's so much value, in my personal opinion, of like taking all your bumps and bruises and the little roller coaster in the minors, where like you don't have like a young 100%. Kid that like you turn your phone on and it's like you're getting like I was 32, 33 making the most money I ever made, totally secure, and I would like get Instagram like death threats about a game, and I was like I was able to like manage it, but I'm like, this isn't healthy, right? And then like imagine doing that, like imagine Cam Fowler tonight if it doesn't go well. Yes, those people's opinions don't matter, but you're gonna see it, and I think building up a little bit of a tolerance and like a mental capacity for that in the minors is so important.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a stupid question. Get ready for a dumb one.
I love it.
No, you're a baseball cap guy.
Yeah, well, some days I gel my hair. You never know. I keep guessing.
I get it. I understand. You got to have the feathers looking good. Were you a baseball cap on the bench guy?
I was. I was a baseball cap on the bench guy, but not a backwards hat. The Tampa Bay backup, came out the other night.
Krister Gudlevskis was the first. Was one that I think was the first one I remember seeing that had the baseball cap. But sorry, go ahead. You're making a point about Tampa.
The backwards hat for me is a big no-no. Like the kid for the Leafs the other night, the backup that was with Hildeby had his hat on backwards. I just feel like optics wise, I'm okay with the hat.
Yeah.
There's two things that I would change. It's that the dress code, whatever. We did fashion days when I was in Arizona, and in my career I struggled because like I don't have any cool clothes. I didn't have my Christian Dior shoes on. I was literally I wear like the boots because I was at the dog park with my dog and my kids. And and the other one for me is breaking sticks. Like if you break your stick over the boards or the post, let's fine them. Like I think it's such bad optics as a father now and as a guy that played in the NHL.
As a guy that buys sticks now. Hang on. As a guy that buys sticks now.
Yeah, Jesus, I wish I would have stockpiled a little more.
You know what's funny too? One of the things that I always love is when you see like a star player or any player for that matter, like giving out sticks to kids. It's always like, oh, look how generous Ovechkin is, or look how generous Crosby. They're not paying for the stick. It's like $500 out of his pocket.
Their take home. Right, exactly.
I
disagree with you, Carter. I love when goalies lay the lumber to the post, man. I mean, it's the optical reinforcement of the psychopathic goalie trope, and there's nothing like it. A guy wearing a mask slamming the shit out of a piece of metal with his stick until it breaks is great.
Lumberjack.
There was a famous one where the video of Pekka Rinne doing it in the playoffs against San Jose. And who do you think came in after his stick was broken? This guy. I remember I had to go in twice during those Game 5 and Game 7. In that series, we lost to San Jose. I remember the one time I went in, it was like 4-1 or so. We were getting waxed. And then they had a power play. It was a 5-on-3, right? So they have a 5-on-3. Laviolette goes, Hutz, you're going in. I'm like, what the? I got to go in right now. It's a 5-on-3. I haven't seen action in like a month and a half. And I remember going down to get my stick from Pete Rogers, famous trainer. And he's like, what are you doing out there? I was like, I don't know. Give me my stick, man. I got to go in the net. And even when I got to the net, Rene was like, are you sure? And I was like, Pex, I don't have a choice, man. 5-on-3. So that was my, I think that was my first playoff experience. Was
Hal Gill there then?
No, Hal Gill wasn't there then.
I always found that Hal Gill was one of the most effective 5-on-3 penalty killers that I ever saw. Because just like wingspan, block shots, like all of it, didn't have to like, he was like, it's almost, this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not. He was forced not to skate. And he was really effective because of it. Like he was forced not to chase anybody because of 5-on-3, so he couldn't really leave. He was such a good 5-on-3 penalty killer.
It's so important, right? Guys that can play their position, make it predictable for a goalie. But that's my, the 5-on-3 was always a little bit intimidating in the NHL, especially when you're coming in cold after about a month and a half out of game.
Did you talk to your posts? And if so, what relationship did you have with your posts?
No, I don't think I ever really talked to my posts. I tried not to be totally a weirdo. I definitely fell back on routine and structure, whether it was like skating to the corner and tapping the boards and like shooting water up or all the weird things. It almost just gave me a sense of comfort that I had like checked those boxes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play well now. But the one thing is like anything can happen. You try to just rely back on like that sports psych of being like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be good.
Yep. We kept you too long, but you got great stories. You got great stuff. Carter, thanks, pal. You continue success with Tyler at noon Eastern every day, and we will check back soon, pal.
Thanks, guys.
Baseball hat on the backup goalie, Greg Wyshynski. To my knowledge, again, this is going to be like a hunt for me now for a few days. As I do this, it feels like Christos Gridlevskis was the first one that I saw. And then it kind of became a thing.
Constantly striving to find ways for players to bring out their personalities. Mm-hmm. I tend to believe that backup goalies are leaving a lot of money on the table. We could easily have a backup goalie wearing a Order of the Buffalo hat. We could have a backup goalie wearing one of those beer helmets where he's putting two cans on either side and drinking with his brother in the game. There is so much opportunity for goalies who we already know, all due respect to Carter Hutton, are complete psychopaths, to wear goofy different hats on the bench. That like who wouldn't want to see Jordan Binnington with a court jester hat on when he's backing up Joel Hofer one night with the St. Louis Blues?
Sell your own ads, sell your own sponsorships, non-traditional revenue. Oh, I took a little haircut in my salary. We're gonna make it up here with this hat.
Yeah.
Not unlike the Grand Fear Pepsi pads. Okay.
How do you feel about the tradition of players handing sticks to fans after the game? Because I've always been sort of like, it's great, except for those moments in which it looks like everybody in the crowd is about to go Mad Max Thunderdome in order to like trample a kid to try to get the stick.
If it's going to kids, yes, 100% yes. And we've seen players too, like at the glass, be like, nobody give that stick to that girl or that 7-year-old boy or whatever. I love it. Absolutely. You don't need to get it. You don't need, it's just like, the autograph hounds that don't want we talked about this with Bedard the other day.
With Bedard, yeah.
Like a guy, like seriously, because that transaction is give me something for nothing. But if you're giving it to a kid, yeah, I absolutely love it. What kid doesn't want to go home with like, I just got this stick from player, 100%. Love it. What's not to love about it?
It's like the old school Monday Night Raw fan in me where you used to go to Raw and like the entire crowd would just be homemade signs. But I do love the tradition now of kids coming to the glass during warm-ups.
Puck?
Not only with signs, but like with intricate negotiations on the signs. Rock, paper, scissors for a puck. Like I think that's really cool. And I'm happy that it's something that's really taken hold and become one of the NHL's great traditions. Is kids not only coming down to the glass to see warm-ups and get a puck, hopefully, but also like creating a billboard in order to sell a player that they are most worthy of said puck.
It's awesome. And there is, because it's hockey in the presence of the glass, there's like a goldfish bowl sort of effect too. That all of a sudden, like the goldfish just threw me a puck, because like unlike other sports, and this is part of the I think like there's like a deep psychological dive you can do about the actual surface of hockey itself and how it lends into certain things like violence in the game for another program. But let's not forget too, hockey is the only sport where there is a physical separation between the athlete and the fan. Football, you can run out of bounds. Baseball, you can chase a ball out of bounds. Basketball, you can run out of bounds. You can't run out of bounds. You can't skate out of bounds in hockey. You hit boards and a glass. And that's why I love, like, when kids go up there, there's like that breaking of the barrier. There's like, I'll flip you a puck. We'll do a selfie. We'll do whatever. Here's a stick. I love it.
If you want to get into the psychological deep dive at all, and I know we can't right now because we're up against it, but like, to me, that's the biggest problem with hockey on television is that you literally are watching what looks like a bunch of people in a fishbowl. And if there was a way,
every other sport brings you right on the surface.
Yeah. We're on this, and in
right
baseball's case, even more on the surface now, where they're bringing cameras on the field as players are walking up.
Yep.
To
it
the
looks
batter's
great,
box and
looks
inside
awesome.
the dugout when they're celebrating it.
Yes,
I mean that to me is like that's the thing. Hockey, as we talk about. Listen, there's a ton of reasons why it struggles in the U.S. the way that it does, demographic and financial and everything else. But the simple fact that you're not bought onto the ice more, the simple fact that you don't feel like you're part of the action, is to me the reason why there's always that feeling of separation. And again, like there are other sports like NASCAR, for example, where you do feel the same sort of way. But when you compare hockey to the other big four sports, I mean, there's got to be a way to break through that barrier and get on the ice. I always thought drones were the answer, Marek. I always thought having drones fly around like a futuristic game show from a movie and film the action as it goes on. Like that's where we need to be as hockey grows in our great nations.
Yeah. Wearable technology, wearable cameras, right? I don't know, the officials pushed back on it. And I can't understand why. Like, if you're going to make us essentially, be camera operators and shooters, then we need to be compensated more for it. And I agree with them. But I think the bigger issue for officials wearing the cameras on their helmets was it, and I think unfairly, leads to criticism of officials because the camera is pointed at an area where the official might not be looking. And it makes it seem as if the official should be looking at that area, even though that area at that time isn't where the official should be looking. So
Hear me out.
But hang on a second. That is the idea, though, because those ref cams looked awesome. They did look awesome. Fantastic. They were great.
Hear me out. We are able to replace the ads on the boards. Okay.
Yeah.
With CGI ads, including ones where shit moves during play, and I hate it. Yeah, why can't we just have a guy in a CGI bodysuit on the ice holding a camera? He's filming the action, and then we just erase him through the miracle of digital technology. So if you're at the game, you see a guy dressed like one of the green men in Vancouver holding a camera filming the action. If you're watching at home, you just don't see it.
You have no idea. It's just like, this is fantastic. Oh, hang on a second. Okay. Zach's in.
No, I know Jeff doesn't watch the NFL as much, but I wish I know you do. The one that always got me, and I just wanted to bring it up here because you guys didn't say it, is the, for lack of a better term, I don't know what it's called, like the cable cam. Greg, you know what I'm talking about, where the camera's on the field above? Because I don't think drones is as practical. I've never understood why the cable cams don't work in the NHL.
They tried
to follow the play up and down the ice.
They tried. It was back in like
the play.
2013. They did try this.
And they had the rail cam on the side on the glass.
Yes.
The real issue,
yes, I remember the rail cam.
But the real issue again is that you're not on the same level as the players. You're still watching it from the overhead. It does capture the classic NHL, 94 feel of a game as you follow the action, but you still don't feel like you're part of it. And that's the thing they're going to have to eventually figure out. And I don't know how they do it. That's a Steve
And then
question.
there are other buildings that clearly were built without camera positions involved. Like, I love the broadcast crew. We've talked so much, and we just had Drew Amenda on not too long ago to gush about Drew and that broadcast. And Drew's elite, and that San Jose Sharks broadcast is elite. But the camera positions are awful. Like San Jose and Anaheim,
you still watch games.
Tough watches, man.
You still fire up the games at night, and there are some arenas where you're literally, if somebody stands up during play, you're screwed. You can't see what's going on anymore because that's where the camera is compared to the crowd. It's terrible.
Okay, we got a couple of things here to go, and I gotta hop on Oilers Nation every day here. Hungry for hockey history. It's a presentation of Uber Eats. I want you to hang around for this one because I'm gonna quiz you on something. Hungry for hockey history, the presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Zach, this is an important date in hockey history. Zach Phillips.
On December 11th, 1992, the NHL's Board of Governors elected Gary Bettman as the league's first commissioner, a role he officially assumed on February 1st, 1993.
So, in one of his first, I think you and I have talked about this before, in one of his first meetings with NHL managers, there was almost a fist fight between two Hall of Famers, who at that point were general managers. Do you know who they were?
Yeah, this isn't the barn fight.
No, this is not the barn fight.
Predates it.
No, but
go ahead and tell me.
Bob Gainey and Serge Savard, who never really got along. Like you always talk about, like you think the Stanley Cup winners, like everybody loves each other, and we're winning a Stanley Cup, and yay, everything's good. Bob Gainey and Serge Savard, and I've confirmed this with players that were on those teams, to be kind, never saw eye to eye. And it played itself out. Brian Burke has told this story. We did one of our Hey Burkies on this one, where I guess it would have been probably Savard that ended up signing someone for the Montreal Canadiens for more money than everyone else in the league expected. So it sort of raised how much Gainey was going to have to pay someone on the North Stars. I'm not sure exactly how it went, but then all the old history comes into it, and the arguments and the FUs across the room. And as Berkey tells it, it's, next thing you know, like these two guys are taking off their jackets and rolling up their sleeves, and they're pushing away tables and chairs. And Brian tells me Gary Bettman turned to him and said, "Brian, what's going on here?" And Brian said, "Well, Gary, we're going to see a fight." And I'm sure Gary Bettman would come over from the NBA is like, "What have I gotten myself into?" One of my first managers meetings, here's two like legends are about to throw down in their suits in front of everybody.
Yeah. Willis Reed's not about to fight Bob Cousy at the NBA meetings.
No, but here's the NHL, folks. This is how we behave here. Yeah. Someone signed a player for too much and the other guy got angry, and they're going to fight, and everybody's helping them do it by moving away tables and chairs. I'll tell you what, man. You want to do like a behind the scenes show that like everybody's going to watch. Things like that. Things like I'm serious. Like NHL managers meetings, board of governors, like all these types of things. If you really want to do so, salary arbitration hearings. Like if you want to do things that people really want to watch, like really do the behind the scenes, and here's like let's peel away the layers and see how this whole operation works. I'll take that over let's go Christmas shopping with Jack Eichel.
So Mika Zibanejad and his child dressed like blue.
I like that. Hang on, I'm a sucker for. I love the Zibanejad stuff. I really did. I really dug that. I dug that stuff. Funny. All right, last call. You got anything for us?
Nah, I'm good, man. Go read the trade tiers on ESPN.com. Lots of Quinn Hughes stuff there, and some names that I think are kind of interesting as far as like who might actually move. Once again, depending on who's actually going to be in or out of this playoff race.
I like that you had Jordan Kyrou as high as you did, and the tier that you put Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah. It seems like he's been dangling on the precipice of a trade, but again, they might have been too late with it because now he has trade protection.
No trade, yeah.
Versus he didn't have it at the draft where there was a lot of talk of him moving. So we'll see. Maybe they've. It's always really hard to figure out what Doug Armstrong feels about Kyrou and Binnington insofar as what their futures are in St. Louis
and his team too. Like sometimes we've seen Doug Armstrong. Like there was a Doug Armstrong that, the St. Louis Blues at trade deadline were like a couple of points away, but he was still like, F it, we're not good enough, and just like fire sale guys.
Yeah. The Stastny trade to Winnipeg was always the example of that, right? Where he makes that deal.
Dave Backus would have been another one.
The white flag. Yeah, he's just like, we're not good enough to win, even though they're only a few points out of a playoff spot.
But we've also seen the Doug Armstrong that was like, that's it, I'm waving Jay Bouwmeester. Remember, it was like after the Toronto game, and like Bouwmeester was like sour after and couldn't talk, no one would talk to him, and didn't end up getting waived. And Maroons going down to the American League and screw everybody. This is a disaster of a season, and didn't do anything other than call up Jordan Binnington, and they end up winning the Stanley Cup. So trying to figure out what Doug Armstrong is going to do next is a fool's errand. We'll just have to wait and watch and see what happens. You be well, Greg Wyshynski. We will talk to you again on Tuesday. More MVSW.
Thanks everybody for watching and listening.
There he is, the great Greg Wyshynski from ESPN and ESPN.com. With that, we got to hustle because I've got to ask Tyler and Liam a couple of pointed questions. They're going to want to do something totally different, I think, on the show, and I'm going to do my best to hijack it. We'll see if Tyler will allow me. But I am legitimately curious about that first-round pick for the Edmonton Oilers, and who would they rather? Would they rather have Tristan Jarry with retention or use it for Alex Tuch as a strict rental? Dun, 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 dun. We'll find out in a couple seconds. Tune in. In the meantime, Zach, any parting shots before we go here? We still have to do our FanDuel thing, but anything from the show that you want to specifically go over?
I just think that the World Cup thing that Greg's already proposed
I'm Jeff,
is
I'm the guy that's with you every day, by the way. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. That Greg proposed it's flawed. Mostly the biggest reason is because there's no history behind the World Cup. You know, FIFA is so successful because it's been around since 1930. Yeah. It holds weight. It just doesn't in the NHL. I like the concept of it, but guys want something that quote unquote matters, right? And the Olympics matter. World Cup for the second time with that title ever doesn't matter. Four Nations they cared because they lost access to international hockey. So that's just my thought I was holding on to this show.
They tried, it started in 1976 with the Canada Cup, and then that transitioned into the World Cup, and then there was the freeze. But they did have a good thing going there for a while if it just would have continued. And then, again, I still think a big thing with the World Cup, and we all knew it at the time, was when they staged that one, Canada won, and then the next is 2004, Canada won, and then the next day there was a year-long lockout. That didn't do much for the momentum of the World Cup, but nonetheless, again.
Also, just an additional little side point on this.
Yeah,
I think that hockey, if it wants to grow internationally, it's better to have that opportunity on the Olympic stage than it is to host its own world event. I think that hosting its own side thing is less likely to bring viewers who are outside of the current hockey bubble we already have, and it's more likely to draw eyes who are already watching the Olympics, because the amount of people who will just turn it on and be like, oh, could my country win a gold medal or a bronze medal or whatever, it's just a higher opportunity for that to happen there, or to have rivalries build up between other countries that aren't just Canada, USA. That's just my thoughts on that.
Good points. Okay, the sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. From Blue Line to BetSlip, we've got you covered all season long with unique promos, live offerings, and more features to let you play your game. Miss puck drop, no sweat. With a live same-game parlay, you can build up your bets until the final buzzer. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly, 18 plus, and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. Yesterday was almost good for you.
Almost. Let's do this quick because I know you got to go. This one, I've named it this because this is probably how people have felt if they've been betting everything that I've been giving out here of the parlays. This one, Jeff, is called You Make Me Ill. It is Kirill Kaprizov, Will Smith, and Kirill Marchenko to score tonight. Plus 135 for Kirill Kaprizov, Will Smith plus 260 against Maple Leafs, and then Kirill Marchenko plus 200 there for the Columbus Blue Jackets. This one is $5 to pay $121.90.
I am forever impressed with the way you will turn yourself into a pretzel to try to make our closing FanDuel segment interesting and at times funny. I do like the You Make Me Ill. That's good. Ill Kaprizov, Ill Smith, Ill Marchenko. Well done, Zach. And thanks to our friends at FanDuel. Thanks to our friends at Uber Eats. Thanks to Greg Wyshynski from ESPN and ESPN.com for stopping by today. We're back tomorrow. Dave Pagnotta will be aboard for end of the week insider recap of what has happened all week long, and what we look for on the weekend of NHL action, both on and off the ice. Enjoy the rest of your day. You are released from this program officially. Do with your afternoon/evening whatever you see fit. Enjoy the hockey action. We're back tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, for more of The Sheet. We'll talk to you then. Jeff Marek along with you. Hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Faceoff, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for The Sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy. It's true.